OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Al's brother, in here. Leafs Sabres tonight. Leafs with a chance to win the division, which would lock in the Battle of Ontario.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've been tracking this online. People in Ottawa are wondering what's going to happen with tickets being sold for games 3, 4, 6. Because I believe the plan was to allow season ticket holders clearly to buy tickets.
Right.
And then possibly allow season ticket holders to have access to other tickets that could be available. And now there is some concern that some of those tickets are going to be up online in a secondary market. And if they are, we know Leaf fans are going to buy them. And this is giving me flashbacks and deja vu to the early 2000s when it was constantly a story.
Yeah.
How do you keep Leaf fans out of Ottawa? You can't do it.
Can't.
And what you also can't do is ask your customers, especially if they're season ticket holders. That's your bread and butter in pro sports, and especially in the NHL, right? It's a gate-driven regional sport. You can't tell your season ticket holders who have been paying you all year.
Right.
By the way, now that we're into the playoffs, you got to keep those tickets. Because they're probably looking at it, if you're in Ottawa, thinking, I could flip these for double or triple, and Leaf fans are going to buy them, and then I can pay for the rest of the game.
100%. That happens all the time. No matter it's here or in Buffalo, anytime the Leafs roll through anywhere, the ticket's more expensive. But we're talking about the first Battle of Ontario of the cap era. This is going to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be an expensive ticket. What would you think that a ticket like that would cost?
Well, I can tell you what it's going to be in Toronto.
Toronto.
I mean, in Ottawa, that's a very good question. I mean, could you sell a pair of tickets? I mean, could you get $1,000 for a pair of tickets?
On a pair, I was thinking $500 a pop. So yeah, I was right there with you.
Which I don't know the exact pricing of. I would guess lower bowl center ice is probably an expensive ticket, especially for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But if you could get double that on the secondary market or triple that on the secondary market, it opens the door to an interesting conversation that I'm sure people in Ottawa are having some anxiety about right now. Because are you a true fan
if you sell
your tickets, even though you're going to make that much money?
Here's the move, Hazy B. If you got tickets lower bowl or up against the glass, center ice, you sell those ones, but you still want to be there for the atmosphere, for the Sens' first playoff game since 2017. You sell those tickets, you make a fortune, and I guarantee you could get a pair of tickets for a quarter of the price, a little bit higher up, and you still are there, you still get your money, and Sens fans are still in the building.
But they are in the building, but you've also cut out 2 fans. You've allowed 2 Leaf fans into your building.
Yeah, I'm saying as an organization, you don't like that.
No, but technically you could keep your lower bowl seats and allow a Sens fan to buy the ones up in the top.
You could.
Right? That's what Sens fans, I can see it online. Again, they're like, when are they going to be available here where I can get a single game? I just want to go to game 3 or just buy for game 6 or whatever. And this is the concern that's already starting to pop up in Ottawa.
Which makes sense.
How do you keep Leaf fans out? And what has been proven is it's impossible.
Yes.
You cannot do it. Leaf fans are going to get in there.
Florida tried to do that a couple of years ago in round 2, if I recall.
Yes, you're
Florida,
right.
They opened up the tickets and they
You had to buy them from within the state.
Yeah, geo-lock it so that you couldn't purchase them. What happened? Leaf fans made their way into the building.
Yes.
You find a way to get it done.
Secondary market.
Simple.
Security, there's only so far you can go. You can't stop people wearing Maple Leaf jerseys from walking in.
No.
And say, we're going to refund you, but you're not allowed in the door. It's a free society we're living in. And listen, there'll be Sens fans at Scotiabank Arena.
For sure.
There'll be Sens fans scattered around. I don't know the percentage. 5% of the building will be Ottawa fans. But I think the fear is 30% will be Leaf fans.
Could be skew even a little higher.
And if it's actually a free market, it could be 50%. Because what all these other markets are dealing with is there's so many Leaf fans that live in Ottawa. It's not even about road tripping. It's not, and there will be a lot of that. A lot of people from Toronto.
A quick 4.5 hours.
Especially if Game 4 is on a Saturday night.
Oh, yeah.
That's just a brilliant road trip. If you're in Toronto and the Leafs and Sens, Battle of Ontario in Ottawa on the Saturday, if that's what it's going to match up to be, and it sounds like it could be.
Right.
Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Again, we'll see. Nothing's written in stone right now. But if that sets up that way, Game 4 Saturday night in Ottawa, you're making that trip every single day if you're a Leaf fan.
Oh yeah.
But
get your hands on those tickets.
Yes,
no question,
big time. You've got to be there, and I am quite curious to see how this plays out. Like how many Leaf fans are in Ottawa?
It'll be a lot.
Yeah. And how do they do it? How do they police it? Because obviously, if you're Ann Lauer, like if you're the owner of the Ottawa Senators, and this is what Eugene Melnyk went through for years, you finally made it back to the playoffs, and this is the conundrum that I'm sure they're dealing with right now in Ottawa, because I'm sure they want the Leafs because they look at the Leafs differently than they did 20 years ago. Like I'm curious about the psychology of a Sens fan, a 20-year-old Sens fan compared to a 40 or 50-year-old Sens fan. I would think it is different.
Yeah.
Because the 20-year-old Ottawa fan is probably looking at the Leafs saying, why would I be afraid of them? They never win. They always find a way to throw things away. Ottawa's won more playoff rounds in the last 15 years than Toronto has. Bring it on. Sens are 3-0 against the Leafs this year. Bring it on. But if you're a 45-year-old Sens fan, there's got to be scar tissue from the Battle of Ontario. They've never beaten the Leafs in the playoffs. Never beaten them. So there's got to be a fear factor on that front. And it's reversed in Toronto, where it's like the older Leaf fans like bring on Ottawa.
Yeah,
I love it, and the 20-year-old Leaf fans like I don't want anything to do with Ottawa.
That's a tough team. You watch them play this year. I mean, they haven't beaten Ottawa this year too,
right?
Which is something that's kind of interesting. So they've swept Tampa,
4-0 against Tampa, 0-3 against Ottawa. But yeah, I would think in Ottawa, you're kind of flipping back and forth because you're like, okay, you got the Battle of Ontario, the Leafs, maybe they're vulnerable based on this current crop and the core four and all that. Yet Leaf fans are going to completely take over this building. Where if it was Florida, Ottawa, it would be 99% Sens fans in there.
Can I ask you a question? Try and put yourself back in. Was it 2021, the Canadian Division year?
Yes.
What path do you think is easier for the Maple Leafs? 2021 or this year's path with this Eastern Conference that is very, very
21 for sure. 21 for sure.
That was the easier path?
Yes. Like it was Habs, then it would have been the Jets, I believe, because Jets, I think, swept the Oilers.
Yeah, you're right.
And Edmonton, I think Montreal beat Winnipeg in like 5 games that year. And then it was Vegas, I believe, which would have been tough because Montreal played Vegas, which was pretty crazy. At that point, because that was when they started traveling, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, they got outside
Were they traveling
the Canadian
at that point?
bubble. I think, because there was in Toronto and then there was another one in Edmonton, right?
Yeah,
So the East was in Toronto and then Edmonton was out there and then they kind of split them up.
Right. I think 21, because, listen, this Ottawa team, as much as the Habs went to the Cup final that year, which is incredible. But that whole season was just strange, man. There's no fans. It was a weird year. I think this Ottawa team is a more difficult challenge. And then I think the second round is definitely more challenging. Winnipeg certainly. In 21, like you're looking at Tampa or Florida in the second round. I mean, come on.
They've played well against, they got Tampa's number. I don't know if I'm wrong, if I'm off base here. And not to say that Tampa isn't one of the better teams in the league, because they are. They absolutely are. The way Vasilevsky's
They've been
playing right now, and they're playoff tested, and they're so good. They're like, their goal differential is just stupid, off the charts this year.
Mm-hmm.
But they've had a lot of success against that Tampa Bay team. If Tampa and Toronto meet up in round 2.
That's what you're begging for if you're the Leafs.
You have to.
Yeah.
Because that's the team you feel more confident about.
Yes.
Like if Toronto, Florida lives a little rent-free in Toronto's head.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa, it's the complete opposite.
And I think Tampa looks at the Leafs a little bit differently. Like the Leafs beat them a couple of years in the playoffs, and again they've had a lot of success the last couple of years, and they've found a way to beat Vasilevsky.
Are horrendous.
Right.
The last 10 games, I think he's got like an .860 save percentage against Toronto. So 10 times he's played them.
There's something about what the Leafs are doing to him that just throws him off, man.
Yeah.
It spirals him out of control. And you see the NHLPA poll came out today. And I don't know how seriously players take this type of stuff, but Vasilevsky was voted as the best goalie in the league. which is a little bit surprising to me because Hellebuck is about to win his second Vezina in a row.
Well, what shocked me is that Shesterkin was also ahead of Hellebuck in that same poll.
Like, who's voting for this?
I don't know.
Like, how can Hellebuck not be at the top of that list right now?
Well, he's been the best regular season goalie the last 3 years in a row.
Yes.
I think you could argue.
Yes. And Shesterkin had the one good playoff run, very good playoff run, and he had the great year a few years ago.
And
but
last
Hellebuck
year,
has
coming
been,
off the injury was a down year.
Yeah, Hellebuck's better than Shesterkin.
Yes.
I mean, I get Vasilevsky because of the Cups and what he's done. And maybe Bob could be in that conversation, but come on. Let's give Hellebuck a little bit.
I agree.
All right, we were talking about these Juan Soto comments last night. Again, the Mets are 11-5. He hit a home run last night. His stats aren't off the charts, but he was asked about pitchers attacking him and whether or not it's been different this year. And he said, yes, it has been different, basically because I don't have Aaron Judge, the best hitter in baseball, protecting me in the lineup. Now, he does have Pete Alonso protecting him in the lineup.
Pretty good hitter.
And Judge, I guess, was asked about it today, and he pumped the tires of Alonso, and he basically said, I'm not doing this every day, guys. I'm not doing this. Don't come to me and ask me about Juan Soto. To chat about that, among other things, including Jays Braves tonight, here's our TSN baseball insider, Steve Phillips. Steve, what was your approach to Soto's comments, that he was just simply telling the truth, or that he should have known better, and when you get paid that kind of money, you got to stop making any excuse whatsoever?
Yeah, I think that he should not ever mention a Yankee again. I mean, he signed his life away with the Mets, and there's no benefit in him commenting about his time with the Yankees, about Aaron Judge, about hitting in front of Judge, about the difference. I mean, here's the reality of it: is that nobody pitched to Juan Soto. Because Aaron Judge was behind him. He walked. How many times did he walk last year, Juan Soto? And so, he walked a ton. And so in my mind, I think the same sort of thing is that it's not like all of a sudden they're going to pitch him tougher. I mean, he was in lineups previously in Washington that had nobody behind him in a lineup and had great seasons. So, I think that he needs to just go out there, put together his quality at bats and go get it. I mean, Aaron Judge, was able to have a great season last year with nobody hitting behind him in the lineup. I mean, if you think about it, he had the best offensive season in the history of baseball for a right-handed hitter, maybe ever, and he didn't have anybody hitting behind him in the lineup. So just go out there and do your job. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a little weird. But players all, I was surprised that Vladdy talked as much as he did after the February 18th date, where it kind of came and went, and he kept talking about the contract when he gave a deadline, it was over, and then he kept talking about, but I'm willing to do more and everything. And the same thing with Soto. Like, there's no benefit to it. And fine, okay, well, great. You don't have the best hitter in baseball behind. It's not like the guy behind you's chopped liver either. He's actually having a great season right now. I mean, really, Pete Alonso's having a great season. And, I don't know. I mean, I just think Soto's got to just, he's sort of not protest too much and making it more about somebody else rather than he's just not off to a great start.
I agree. And even his number, like they're not horrendous, like he's not putting up awful numbers, Soto. And what's interesting is the Mets are in a good spot. They're 11-5. And what it says to me is that team success is one thing, but he realizes with that kind of money, it's got to be individual success. Because it was right there for him to just say, guys, we're 11-5. We're winning ball games here. Like, I'll be fine. We're fine. It's not about Juan Soto. It's about the Mets. And when you sign for $765, it's about Juan Soto.
Yeah.
And that's what he's talking. He's like defensive. Like it was a late. Like if they were 5-11, it's totally different. They're not. And he knows New York and the Mets in particular, like, dude, you better be a superstar every time you're up the plate. And he just can't handle it. And I appreciate greatly what Judge said. I guess he was asked about it a couple hours ago. And Judge said, quote, I'm not going to go back and forth with this. He's got one of the best hitters in the game hitting behind him in Alonso, end quote. Yet this market as well as anyone, Steve. They're not going to stop. Like, Soto didn't sign in San Francisco. He didn't leave the market. The Soto Judge Mets Yankee thing, the media is never going to stop talking about this.
No, it's not. But he made it a comparison right now that it didn't need to be. Like, he created something that didn't need to be created. I mean, the reality is he's got a 142 OPS plus, which means that he's 42% better than the average player right now, right? In the season that he's having right now, he's 42% better than the average player. Last year was a 178 OPS plus. All right, the year before, 155. The year before that, 127. The year before that, like he's right in the range of where he's been as a player. And I think that I mean, here's the thing: he just made it about himself and about Alonso and a little bit about Judge, but more about Alonso too. Like Colin Summer calling out his teammate when there's no need. You're 11-5. Like, just make it about the team. Like Aaron Judge only makes it about the team ever. He never makes it about himself. You talk to Aaron Judge, and I've interviewed him a ton of times. He only talks about the team. He talks about the guys. He talks about the process. Talks about going out there doing his job. Talks about the people who came before him. Talks about his gratitude for the organization. Like, for Juan Soto, let that be the lesson. Never talk about yourself. Always make it about your team. And you know, the expectations about the contract, ignore them. Those are for other people. He needs to have expectations for his role within the team. But again, that is the difference between Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. Aaron Judge, that's why Aaron Judge is, you know, captain of the USA. You know, he's like Mike Trout in that regard, and that, you know, they just want it to play. They don't want to make it. They don't care about people talking about their numbers or anything else. They just want to play the game. And Soto's a bit of a different player, and you know, is more about himself than maybe some of the other guys. So. But he just created a bigger controversy that when there wasn't a controversy to be created.
Well, from the highest paid player in baseball to the second highest paid player in baseball, Vladdy, his OPS plus is only 103, so a 3% better player than league average. I mean, at what point, Steve, does that kind of become a concern?
Yeah, trade him. I mean, right now,
move off it before the deal kicks in.
Right. I mean, let's see if you can get out of it in some way. You know, have him do the physical again and find something that. And so, I mean, you know, it is a little concerning, only in that, you know, he has had peaks and valleys in his career. We've seen that. Now his valleys are not, you know, bad. They're just, you know, he goes. Sometimes he's good. Sometimes he's great. So it's not a complete shot. Plus, he's been dealing with, I think. Now he's got the contract. Now there's pressure to deliver. You know, there was pressure to negotiate, pressure to deliver, and he just needs to get on the board a little bit with some numbers and start to warm up. And you know, I think everything will be okay. But you know, I mean, this will happen throughout the course of 14 years. It's going to happen. There's going to be years where he starts like this, and there's going to be years he starts great, and in the end, you know, the numbers will always be from good to great. And, you know, he'll end up with an OPS plus in the, you know, well above 103. It's just a matter of time. And so you got to just play it out a little bit and get away from everybody focusing on the numbers to where they can just focus on winning games, and then the numbers will come.
Yeah, I kind of have an Aaron Judge approach to this. Like, I can't mention the contract every day for 15 years. You know, with Vladdy, you can't do it. Yet, leading up to this, it has been celebratory. You know, great story. He's back. He's sticking around. Hometown guy. He wants to be in Toronto forever. And Miles Straw and Tyler Heineman have more home runs than him through 17 games. Yeah. And he was 0 for 4 last night and terrible. And Bichette's no better. They're 9-8, so the glass is half full because you've survived with these guys playing the way they're playing. But man, Vladdy, you're 10% into the season. Right, Steve? Like 20% comes quick, then 30%. And obviously he's not going to hit 0 home runs, but he's got to get going, man. Like, they need him to start cooking here. Forget the contract. He's just capable of being way, way better, and his stats they're staggering through 17 games.
Yeah, they've not been great.
No, they're not good.
You know, but I mean, again, yeah, he'll get hot. I mean, it's, you know, and you know, if this were the middle of the season and he went through a period of time, this was his production, that's one thing. But when it's the beginning of the year and the numbers are pretty stark and you see zeros up there, it's difficult. But, I mean, think about also, you know, the schedule that they are going through right now and, you know, the way that, you know, who they've lined up to play. I mean, the Orioles were obviously a playoff team a year ago. The Mets, the Red Sox are a playoff team. In most people's mind, maybe the best team in the AL East this year. The Orioles, the Braves. I mean, so the schedule has not been great. They have faced some good pitching. Vladdy's supposed to be the one that hits the good pitching, but the good news is they're getting through this part of the schedule, which is a gauntlet. I mean, there's no doubt. The early part of this season for them is a really tough schedule.
Yeah.
And they're holding their head above water with it, and now they just need Vlad to get going. And when he does and the schedule lightens up, then they're going to start to go on like gangbusters and go on a good run. So I think that they've got a hot streak coming, and so does Vlad personally.
Yeah, and that is very valid. Like the sched, it's tough, man. Like it is tough, and it doesn't really get easier because now you got the Braves who are wounded, and they're due to bounce back like they did last night. And
the AL East, though.
Yeah,
that's what happens when you're playing the AL East.
Yeah, exactly. There's no escaping it, man. We know the numbers you got to hit. You got to win a certain amount of games, and it's still early. It's middle of April. All right, Steve. Great catching up with you. We'll do it again soon.
Hey, you get my pleasure, guys. Have a great afternoon.
You got it. There's Steve Phillips, our TSN baseball insider. 9-8. Again, the old if I had it told you. Like Santander's got one home run. Like you look at the stats, and this is baseball in a nutshell. When it's early, the number, like if you go on a 17-game slump
early
from game 100 to 117, it's different because the numbers are baked in. But now it looks worse. But like Vladdy's got a 690 OPS. And Santander's got a 564, and Bo's got a 711 OPS. Like the three of them, your 1, 2, and 3 hitter are averaging a sub 700 on base plus slugging.
Yeah.
Like that, obviously, that won't continue. It can't continue, but it's frustrating because of the history of this team in terms of power hitting. They just don't hit for power for the last 2 years.
And that's why I think over the offseason, every Jays fan imaginable looks at the offseason and what they added, and they just continue to add to pitching and defense. And then they eventually went out and they got Santander, who hit 40 home runs a year ago. So you're thinking, okay, there we go. There's something at least. But again, the term internal improvement was also accompanied with what they're expecting coming into this year, right? Hoping that Bo has that turnaround. Hoping that George Springer, George's played excellent so far.
He's been great. Yes.
We'll see how
that was
what happens
weird with
now.
the wrist and everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue. He has been very good.
But he's been very good. But again, you're hoping that those guys, Alejandro Kirk, who homered the other night, but still has been kind of
not
quiet
a great
with the
start
bat,
with the bat. Yeah.
Right? Like those are the guys you expect to get that internal improvement from, and it really just hasn't come yet. Outside of that first week of George Springer.
Yeah, and then you look at the depth of the Davis Schneiders and the Ernie Clements and the Will Wagners and the Alan Rodens. They're
lucky they've gotten the pitching they've gotten.
Yep, and defensively they've played well.
Yeah,
they've had very good defensive numbers for the most part.
Right,
but you're right. If the staff wasn't doing what it's doing, if Hoffman wasn't doing what they were doing,
like that little blown kiss the other day to Baltimore,
just right to the physician who failed my physical. Send that right to the front office.
Yeah, my shoulder looks okay, doesn't it, boys?
Like it's not like the Orioles players were the ones who said, "Sorry, we're not going to accept this."
Right.
But you might as well listen. Welcome to the American League East. Get after it. All right, Al's brother. Good seeing you, pal. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
As always, we got the Leaf game coming up on TSN4 and on TSN Radio tonight. So Bonesy coming up, Ralphie coming up, the Tapman coming up, pregame, postgame, the whole 9 on TSN Radio, and of course up on TSN4. Big one for the Leafs tonight. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.